If you're just getting started using Cavalry, the duplicator is really important to learn. So in this video, we'll create this exact animation step by step using the duplicator, along with one setting that can give us some really nice variations of this effect. Now, to get started, let's add a rectangle shape by holding Alt and then clicking the rectangle button. And then we can click on this duplicator button up here, and we'll now get a grid of duplicates, and we can see it easily by increasing the size, and we will now see this grid. But we don't want a grid. We want something called a linear distribution. Now, for continuing on with this project, it's sort of difficult to see how many duplicates we have, so we can go into the settings over here and then draw debug animation, and we'll now see the numbering or the indexes of these duplicates. So we can increase the count to 15, and then the size we can set to something around 750. And this will make them so that they overlap a bit, which looks quite cool in my opinion. And we can now disable the draw debug information again. For moving these cubes, we want to use what's called a shape position. And you can see moving the Y value, it goes up and down. So we can right click here and then add something called a behavior. More specifically, we want to add the oscillator on the Y value. And this will oscillate the Y value up and down. And we'll get this animation, which right now looks a little laggy. And that's because we have a frame rate of 25 frames per second. So let's set that to 60. And it still doesn't look right, but we can go into the oscillator here. And then inside of this, we can make it so that it moves more up and down by increasing the minimum and maximum value. And as you can see here, by changing it to -200 and then 200, we'll see that it moves more up and down, but it's way too fast. So let's go ahead and reduce the frequency down to something like, I don't know, maybe just 1. And you'll see that a lot of things happen on the screen, but don't worry about that right now. But right now you'll see it's more normal speeded, but it moves in these 3 blocks. The reason being that we have a stagger value. Setting this to 0, it will move at the same speed for all duplicates, but increasing this, you will see it starts to stagger, meaning that some cubes move before others, and they're sort of delayed in a way. Now, before exploring this further, let's go ahead and set this to a value of somewhere around 2. So it's just going to give us a subtle delay or stagger, sort of like a snake. But taking a look at the color right here, it's quite boring and there's really no way to distinguish one cube from another. So we can go into the rectangle shape and see that we have this color right here. And to change that, we can go to the add menu and then search for color. And in here, you'll see quite a lot of different layers we could use for this. But the one we're looking for is index to color. And this is perfect for this use case. So we can double click it to add it. And this is then going to assign a color from this gradient to each of these duplicates based on their index. So let's connect it to the rectangle shape's index color. And you'll now see we have this beautiful gradient. Problem is that the white color up here blends in with the background. So let's select the gradient color here and then reduce the whiteness a bit. Now, the basic color of this animation is done, but we can adjust the oscillator to get some quite cool effects by increasing the stagger value. And we'll see that we get a more extreme stagger effect. Now, if we go ahead and increase this stagger effect even more, we'll start to notice some weird effects happening that can look quite cool. Now, if we go ahead and reduce this stagger down to something a little lower again, like for example, we can set it to somewhere around 15, you'll see that if we go ahead and play the animation, we'll have these 4 different blocks of cubes that move up and down. And if we go ahead and increase the count, we'll have a little more resolution to work with, and we can now increase the stagger again, and we'll sort of see if we set it to somewhere around 30, we'll now have 2 trails instead, sort of moving in a mirrored position, which looks quite cool. But do note setting it to a number like 30 will sort of ruin the animation. Now, if you want to support the making of these videos, you can buy me a coffee, links in the description, or else a follow goes a long way too. Thank you for watching.